The Water of Life, written by the Grimm brothers. Long before we were born, there reigned, in a country far off, a king who had 3 sons. This king fell very ill, so ill that nobody thought he could live. The king's sons were saddened by their father's sickness. As they walked in the palace garden, a little old man met them and asked,
"What is the matter?"
They told him their father was very ill, and they were afraid nothing could save him.
"I know what would. It is the water of life. If he could have a drop of it, he could be well again. But it is very hard to get."
The eldest son went swiftly to his sickly father and begged so that he might go in search of the water of life, it being the only thing that might save the king. The king told his eldest son that he would rather die than place him in such great danger as he would meet on his journey. But the eldest son begged so hard the king let him go, and the prince thought to himself,
"If I bring my father the water, he will make me sole heir to his kingdom."
Then he set out on his journey. He had gone on his way some time when he came to a deep valley surrounded with rocks and wood. He looked around and saw standing above him an ugly little dwarf with a sugar loaf cap and a scarlet cloak. The dwarf called out to him,
"Prince, whither so fast?"
"What is that, you ugly imp?"
But the dwarf was enraged at the eldest prince's behavior and laid a spell out of ill luck on him. Then the mountain pass became narrower and narrower as he tried to pass. He could step no further. He turned and found he was blocked in. Thus he was forced to abide the spellbound. Meantime, the old king was lingering on daily hopes of his eldest son's return. At last his second son says,
"Father, I'll go in search of the water of life."
For he thought to himself,
"My brother is surely dead, and the kingdom will fall to me if I find the water."
The king was at first unwilling to let his son go, but at last yielded to him. So the king's second son set out. He followed the same road which his brother had, and met the same dwarf, who stopped him in the same spot in the mountain.
"Prince, prince, whither so fast?"
"Mind your own affairs, imp,"
the prince said scornfully, and rode on. But the dwarf put the same spell upon him as he put on his eldest brother, and he, too, was at last obliged to move no further, forced to abide spellbound. Thus it is with proud, silly people who think themselves above everyone else and are too proud to ask or take advice. When the second prince had not returned in a long time, the youngest son said, "Father, I will go in search of the water of life." The young prince trusted he should soon be able to make his father well again, so he set out, and the dwarf met him too at the same spot in the valley among the mountains.
"Prince, whither so fast?"
And the youngest prince said, "I am going in search of the water of life, because my father is ill and likely to die. Can you help me? Pray, be kind and aid me if you can."
"Do you know where it is to be found?"
"No, I do not. Pray, tell me if you know," said the prince.
"Then as you have spoken to me kindly, and are wise enough to seek for advice, I will tell you how and where to go. The water you seek springs from a well in an enchanted castle, so that you may be able to reach it in safety. I will give you an iron wand and 2 little loaves of bread. Strike the iron door of the castle 3 times with the wand, and it will open. 2 hungry lions will be lying down inside, gaping for their prey. But if you throw them the bread, they will let you pass. Then hasten to the well and take some of the water of life before the clock strikes 12. For if you tarry longer, the door will shut upon you forever."
The prince thanked his little friend with the scarlet cloak and took the wand and the bread. He went on his travels. On and on over the sea and over land till he came to the end and found everything the dwarf told him. The door flew open at the 3rd stroke of the wand, and when the lions were quieted, he went on through the castle and came to a beautiful hall, several knights sitting in a trance. Then he pulled off their rings and put them on his own fingers. In another room he saw on a table a sword and a loaf of bread, which he also took. Further on he came to a room where a beautiful young lady sat upon a couch, and she welcomed him joyfully and said,
"Please set me free from the spell that binds me. If you come back in 1 year and marry me, the kingdom shall be yours. The water of life that you seek is in the palace gardens. I bade you, prince, make haste. Get what you need before the clock strikes 12.
The young prince walked on, and as he walked through the beautiful gardens, he came to a delightful shady spot in which stood a couch. He thought to himself, as he felt tired, So he laid himself down, and sleep fell upon him unaware, so that he did not wake until the clock struck 12:15. Then he sprang up with a dreadful fright and ran to the well and filled a cup that was standing by him. He hastened to get away in time. Just as he was going out of the iron door, it struck 12, and the door fell so quickly upon him that it snapped off a piece of his heel. When he found himself safe, he was overjoyed to think he had gotten the water of life. As he was going homewards, he passed the little dwarf. The prince thought to himself, "I cannot go home to my father without my brothers." So he said, "My dear friend, can you not tell me where my 2 brothers are, who set out in search of the water of life before me?" The prince begged so hard for his brothers that the dwarf at last set them free, though unwillingly. The young prince, however, was overjoyed by his brothers' return, and told them all that had happened to him, about the water of life, and the beautiful princess he had freed and was set to marry in 1 year. Then all 3 brothers rode on together. On their way home, they came to a country that was laid to waste by war and famine, so that it was feared all must die for want. But the youngest prince gave the king of the land the bread, and all of his kingdom ate of it. And he lent the king his sword, which the king used to slay the enemy's army, and thus the kingdom was once more in peace and plenty. In the same manner he befriended 2 other countries which the brothers passed through. When they came to the sea and got into a ship, they were full of envy and revenge, and agreed together how they would ruin their brother. They waited until their youngest brother was fast asleep, and poured the water of life out of the cup and took it for themselves, giving him bitter sea water instead. When they came to their journey's end, the youngest son brought his cup to the sick king, so that he may be healed. However, when the king tasted the bitter sea water, he became worse with sickness. Both the eldest sons came in and blamed their youngest brother for what they had done. The envious brothers gave their father the real water of life, claiming they had found it and brought it with them. The king no sooner drank of what they brought him, and felt the sickness leave him, and soon was as strong and well. Then the brothers went to the youngest prince and laughed at him.
"Well, brother, you found the water of life, did you? You have had the trouble, and we shall have the reward. Pray, with all your cleverness, why did you not manage to keep your eye?"
Next year, one of us will take your beautiful princess, if you do not care. And if you tell him, you shall lose your life into the bargains. But be quiet, and we'll let you off."
The old king was still very angry with his youngest son, and thought he really meant to have taken away his life. He called upon his court together, and asked what should be done. All agreed he ought to be put to death. The prince knew nothing of what was going on, till one day the king's chief huntsman took him hunting, where they were alone deep into the woods. The huntsman looked so sorrowful that the young prince said, "My friend, what is the matter with you?"
I dare not tell you.
The prince begged very hard and said, "Only tell me what it is, and I shall not be angry, for I will forgive you."
Alas,
said the huntsman.
the king has ordered me to kill you.
The young prince, startled by this, said, "Let me live, and I will change dress with you. You shall take my royal robe to show my father, and you give me your shabby one."
With all my heart, I am sure I shall be glad to have saved you, for I could not have killed you.
Some time after, 3 grand embassies came to the old king's court to present the youngest prince with gifts of gold and precious stones. These 3 embassies were sent from the 3 kings who the young prince aided in saving their kingdoms. When the old king heard of this, it touched his heart, and he wished his son were still alive.
My king, he is still alive. I am glad that I had pity on him and let him go in peace, while I brought back his royal robe.
The old king was overjoyed and made it known he would forgive his son if his son returns. Meanwhile, the young, beautiful princess, which the youngest prince gave promise of marriage to, was eagerly awaiting her prince. She told her kingdom, paved with shining gold.
Whoever comes on horseback and rides straight up to the gate is my true love. Let him in. But whoever rides on one side of the road must not be the right one. Send him away at once.
The time soon came when the eldest brother thought he should make haste to get the princess. He came to the shining golden roads and thought it too beautiful to ride upon. He chose to ride on one side. But the guard saw the eldest brother ride on the right side and sent him away. The second brother set soon afterwards on the same errand. He too came to the shining golden roads and thought it too beautiful to travel upon. He chose to ride on one side, but the guard saw him ride on the left side of the road and sent him away as well. Now when the full year had passed, the youngest prince set out, leaving the forest he had hidden in for fear of his father's anger. He thought of his princess, and promised to her the whole way. He did not even notice what the road was built of. He rode straight to the gate, and it flew open with his princess happily greeting him on the other side. The princess told the young prince his father had spread word he had forgiven his son. So the princess and young prince set out to visit his father. He then told his father everything his brothers had done, about robbing him and the lies they had told their father, how the young prince had borne all of the wrongs for the love of his father. The old king was very angry and wanted to punish his wicked sons, but the brothers escaped and boarded a ship to a land no one knew or cared about them. And now the old king and his youngest and truest son and his beautiful princess celebrated their wedding in happiness. The rest of the kingdom was summoned along with the dwarf with a sugarloaf cap and a scarlet cloak. They all frolicked and danced in a feast with family.
The Water of Life is a Grimm Brothers fairy tale. The narration and the young prince was brought to you by Zachary Murray. The eldest prince was done by Trinity Goodwin. The second prince was done by Caleb Smith. The production and all other character voices were brought to you by Cassia Goodwin. The music is from Russ Star Music.